Welcome back to the crash course. We're talking about how to reduce disruptions without yelling, begging, or bribing. And so far, we talked about 3 key mistakes, how to avoid them. And then we started going through the smooth running classroom process. These are the steps you need to take to reduce disruptions, restore order, and create a smooth running class. And so far, we've covered step 1, plan, make your plan, write everything out. Step 2, practice, put your plan into action and practice responding consistently. Now we're going to talk about step 3, adjust. And there's actually kind of 2 parts to this step, adjust and prevent. What we're going to do in this step is troubleshoot areas that aren't quite working the way that we expected them to do. Because here's the reality. No plan is perfect. And rather than being frustrated by that, we're going to plan for that and actually view that as, whew, I can relax a little bit because my plan doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be a process of continually adjusting it. So in this step, what you're going to do is you're going to troubleshoot with our ISTE process. ISTE stands for identify, seek, decide, and implement. Let's go through each of these. So first, identify the problem. When you notice something isn't working, you need to identify that. A lot of times we feel helpless to solve problems because they're just floating out there and we just feel overwhelmed and we can't even really put our finger on what the problem is. So you start by identifying this is the problem and asking, why is this problem happening, and figuring out what is going on. Then once you say, okay, I know what the problem is, you seek out solutions. And at this point, it's green lighting. There's no wrong, there's no bad ideas. You're just seeking out ideas from yourself, from mentors, from fellow teachers, online, whatever it is, looking for solutions. Then step 3, decide what to change. So you take all your solutions and say, okay, this is what I'm going to try. And then 4, implement the solution. Not rocket science, but are you doing something like this? If not, when you put this into practice, you're going to find it being really helpful little framework to continually solve issues that came up. And the great thing about this is that once you get in the habit of using this process, challenges, rather than being really stressful and frustrating, instead become a launch point to make us better, because we're continually saying, okay, here's a problem. How do I fix it? Try something new. And now it works better, right? In that way, you will be continually growing your skills and adding more techniques and strategies to your classroom management toolbox, so that before you know it, you're that teacher that's a veteran and doesn't even need the recipe anymore, right? So this is how we do it. This is also great because it helps take away the fear of behavior issues. In other words, if a behavior issue comes up that you don't know what to do with, or something's not working, it doesn't have to be terrifying, because okay, I can troubleshoot this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make a plan. It's okay. We don't have to be afraid of that, which is so stress relieving. So that's the big part in this step, is to adjust. But we also, in Classroom Management 101, like to be proactive too. So we like to also think about ways that we can prevent issues. So I'll run through a few of these real quick. Obviously, it's so important to build relationships with our students. So we always want, at this point, we want to make sure, am I building relationships? What can I do to build better relationships with my students? Because that is so key to so many things, and definitely classroom management. We also want to consider, am I being as organized as I should be? Or is disorganization causing chaos and keeping me from being able to deal with things as they come up? So if organization is an issue, definitely going to be really helpful at this point to address it. We also want to be asking at this point, and by the way, these are here in step 3 for a reason. We don't start here. You got to start with your plan, get that in place. That's going to make the biggest difference. But this is the spot where we can kind of go to that next level and say, okay, let's prevent issues. So cutting down confusion. What I mean by this is, when you're teaching, are your students tracking with you? Do they get what you're saying? For example, I was a math teacher. If I'm teaching math and my students are confused, they're like, I don't know how to divide these fractions. That is going to not only hurt them academically, that is going to cause a lot of classroom management issues, because they're going to be discouraged, they're going to not know what to do, they're going to be frustrated, they're going to tend to just want to distract themselves rather than focus. So actually making sure that your lessons make sense to your student is actually a key part of classroom management. So this is where we kind of think about that. And then, of course, keeping students engaged and motivated. Now, I really do believe classroom management and student motivation go hand in hand. And they can either help each other, kind of like build on each other and make, good classroom management helps students be more motivated. Good motivation helps better classroom management. And it can be like make things better and better. Or it can be a downward death spiral. Bad classroom management, students aren't paying attention, which causes more behavior issues, which causes them to be less motivated, which causes more issues. So we don't want to be on that downward. We want to make sure they're both working together and they're not fighting against each other. So in Classroom Management 101, we actually have a whole bonus course all about keeping students engaged and motivated. But that's something that you want to think about here. Daphne is one of our students, and I love how she gives an example of how she kind of identified an issue and then fixed it. So she said, I kind of nailed down one of my biggest triggers, the thing that was really bugging me, was having everyone call my name and wanting answers right away. So she said, once I identified that issue, now I'm working with my kids on how we raise our hands, etc. And then I also like how she said, I kind of know what's next. The next couple areas I want to work on are class chatter and volume, and then focusing on assignments and activities. So that's step 3, adjust and also work on prevention. Step 4 is restart. This is when we take our new skills and confidence and use them to start the next school year right. Now, depending on when you start implementing this system, if you are ready to start it at the beginning of the school year, that is awesome because the start of a school year is really that fresh start, and it makes such a big difference. But if you're starting it in the middle of the school year, you don't have to be discouraged either because this is really going to help. Here's how that works. As you implement steps 1 through 3, create your plan, put it into practice, adjust and prevent, you're going to notice a steady, gradual improvement in your student behavior. Remember, if you're changing mid-year, you're kind of like turning the ship, right? But what's interesting is that your class is now running a little bit more smoothly. Things are going better. But what's happening even more, the biggest change is not in your classroom. It's going to be in you. Your skills and your confidence are actually increasing at a greater rate than your students' behavior. Because with the student misbehavior, you're fighting that bad inertia. But your skills and confidence, they're growing off the charts as you put in your plan and you practice and you adjust, okay? Right, but you're fighting the bad inertia, right? But when you take all that new skills and confidence and you're able to start the school year off right, something pretty magical happens. There is a huge jump in student behavior, kind of up to where you are. And that makes such a big difference. It's because you have that fresh start. And when you start off with your plan and you know how to use it and you've adjusted it, it makes an incredible difference. And you're going to be amazed at the difference in student behavior overall. When you start day 1, you want to have all the skills and confidence. You want to have a clear plan. You want to have clear expectations. You want to teach and practice procedures with your students. You want to deal with issues while they're small. Make sure you're holding students accountable. Preventing issues, what we just talked about, and you have that growing toolbox of strategies. And if you've been running this process for a while, your plan has been tweaked and improved, so it's even more effective than it was when you started. And most importantly, you're confident that you know what to do and you can handle new challenges that come your way. When you do that, that's what happens. That huge jump in student behavior is so much better. It's like night and day difference. Kara experienced this. She said, I feel so much more confident starting out this year than I had in the past. I have clear and firm expectations. I'm not letting little things go. And my classroom is operating so much more effectively as a result. Lynette said these things helped her have confidence and put changes in place. And from day 1, it was so different. And she said, my respect level is so much higher than it was in the past years. So that's the smooth running classroom process. Step 1, create your plan. Step 2, put it into practice. Step 3, adjust your plan. And step 4, restart whenever it's time for the next school year. So if you take away one thing from this entire crash course, I want you to know you can reduce disruptions, and creating a plan is the way to do it. The big question that is probably on your mind now, though, is how exactly can you do that? How do you create the plan, implement it, adjust it? so that you can stop being frustrated by student misbehavior and actually enjoy teaching again? Well, in the last and final video, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm actually going to give you 2 different options that you can choose to figure out, how do I do this nitty-gritty? How do I actually follow these steps and create and then implement and adjust my plan? So I hope that I will see you in the last and final video. Before we do that though, I want to let you know, if you are saying, Linda, I would really love for someone to walk me through this step by step, help me know how to make my plan, how to put it into practice, how to adjust it, what I need to be ready for the start of school, we would absolutely love to do that. And that's exactly what we do in Classroom Management 101. So if you go to teachfortheheart.com/help, you can get all the information on CM 101 and sign up today. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the last video.